get going. And just as I started recording, I can see there's we've got 100 people here already, which is very nice. Okay, so welcome everyone. Really happy to be here for my first webinar of the year. And we have got a very interesting topic today. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, or AI, and this is a model academic English lesson. In case you haven't met me before, okay, my name is Will Lachette, and I am a senior academic consultant. I work for National Geographic Learning, and I've been working in English language teaching since 2001. And for most of that time, I was working as an English teacher. And I have spent many years teaching academic English. In case any of you are wondering, this wonderful image you're looking at on the screen here, this is an artwork by Rashid Al-Shasai, and you can find this in Saudi Arabia in Al-Ula, and it is pyramids that represent civilization and commerce. I think it's a wonderful image. I really enjoyed looking at that one. And this is one of the images. You can also see it behind me, taken from our new academic program, the new edition of our new academic program called Pathways, the 3rd edition. And that is where we are taking the lesson from that we're going to be learning today. So this is another wonderful image here. You can see this is the level we're looking at today, Pathways, 3rd edition, listening, speaking, and critical thinking. It's a program we're using level 2. So the lesson we're using today is aimed for students from an A2 to a B1 level on the CEFR. And the name of the unit is Technology Today and Tomorrow. Okay, so before we move over to the classroom presentation tool, where I'm going to do most of my presentation, I have a little question for you. So our lesson is on artificial intelligence, AI. I'd like you to type into the chat box for me. Do any of you recognize any of these images that you can see on your screen right now? So if you can type into the chat box, do these images mean anything to you? So we've got Siri, we've got ChatGPT, the first computer, a server. Yeah, so Siri and ChatGPT, everybody knows. IBM, yes, we know IBM. Does anybody know what this is? So it's, yeah, we've got a robot. Well done, Alicia. So this robot, well, let me say this one. I'll give you a clue for the IBM one. If I put this here, does that help anyone guess what this is? So there's a man here. Does anybody know who this man is? Blue. Somebody said blue, and that is Kasparov, Garry Kasparov, the former world champion chess player. Yeah, so someone said blue. So this IBM computer, this is Deep Blue, which is a computer, a supercomputer, which beat Garry Kasparov at chess. Okay, Deep Blue, that's right. So can you tell me in the chat box, any of these, how are they related to artificial intelligence? Anyone tell me, yeah, how they're linked? So thinking, okay, machine learning, okay, right, yeah. So we've got Deep Blue, okay, maybe it had to think, had to learn how to beat the human at chess. Lots of you know this one, ChatGPT. How is that related to artificial intelligence? Okay, digitalization. Okay, they do tasks which are usually done by humans. Francis said they're thinking for students, which is sad. Critical thinking, brain of the machine. Okay, so all of these things are doing something that before humans had to do, right? Okay, and a lot of these things are, in a way, thinking. They can do things. They can follow commands. They can act in a certain way, okay? They can respond to commands, right? Okay, so we're going to look into these in a bit more detail later on. I just wanted to see how much you knew about these. So I think someone said robot. I don't think anyone knows what this is down here. So we're going to find out later on, okay? Okay, so we're going to swap over now to the classroom presentation tool. We call it the CPT. And this is a digital tool, a teaching tool, which you can find on our digital platform Spark. And it has everything that you need to teach your lesson. And that's what I'm going to be using today. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, and I'm going to do a new share. And we're going to go over into the classroom presentation tool. Just give me a couple of seconds. And that should work. There we go. Okay, so I think you are looking now at the classroom presentation tool. So this is online. So I'm using this in my browser. We also have a version which is offline. Okay, so if you're teaching, you don't have internet access, you could also use this tool. All right. So what you can see here is all the different modules. Lots of interesting units here. Okay, we've got this is the one we're doing, Unit 2, Technology. But there's also interesting ones here inside the brain. Okay, culture and identity. You can see there's a lot of cross-curricular content. Okay, which is really, really interesting for our students. All right, so let's go in and have a look and start the lesson. Okay. So once I click on the unit, I can see all of the different lessons here, and we're going to go into lesson A. Oh, that's great. Gibran has just typed in Spark, a great tool to use. I agree, 100%. Okay, right. So we're going to zoom in here, and we're going to start a vocabulary lesson. So vocabulary lesson, we're going to do in just a moment. Before we do, you can notice I put up here poll. That's a reminder for me, and I just want to show you because this is a new feature. So if any of you are using one of our classroom presentation tools, we've actually got this new feature, which is this text box feature. So I actually I put this here. I put the text box there a few days ago. You can see when I click on that there, I can go in there, I can edit, okay, I can put bold, I can change the size of the text, I can use bullet points. So we've now got a powerful text tool so that I can annotate. I can, when I'm teaching my lesson, I can use that to make notes or whatever. And it's also good because the classroom presentation tool will save this so that the next time you use it, you can use it to prep your lessons, right? You can use it when you're planning, you can put little notes in. And I've done that throughout the lesson today. Okay, so before we go into this vocabulary lesson, I just want to do a little poll just to get us a bit more in the mood for the lesson here. So I'm going to launch my poll here. If I can find where the poll is. Poll, here we go. And I'm going to launch my robot poll. So I've got a quick question for you, just to see if any of you know the answer. So I'm going to be talking about robots in a minute, and I'd like to see how many of you know the answer to this question. So when do you think the word robot was first used? Okay, so we've got a few options there: 1900, 1920, 1940, 1960, and 1980. Right, I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about that. So robots are something that we see a lot of. We used to see a lot of when I was a child in science fiction, on TV, in films, in comics. But now it's something that we see a lot of in our real lives, right? I'm sure some of you have got robots in your house. Just while we're doing this, does anyone have a robot in your house? What kind of robot do you have in your house? You can put it in the chat box for me. A cleaning robot, right? Okay, exactly. Lots of people have those. A Roomba, I don't know what that is. A rice cooker, right? Okay, rice cooker robot. Right, so let's end the poll and have a look at what everybody said. Okay, and you should be able to see on your screen now that about 40% of you said that robot first appeared in 1920. And we've got a kind of even spread across the other times. And actually, most of you got it right. So it was 1920. I'm very impressed. I'm just going to show you here. So here I've got the teacher's book. 4 pathways that we're looking at here. And this is actually a raw resource. You can also access this amongst other resources on Spark. And we can see we've got a little warmer for our students here. It says, when do you think robot was first used? And the correct answer is 1920. And it was first used by a writer from the Czech Republic called Karel Čapek. It tells you how to pronounce it as well. And most of you got it right. So I'm very impressed. So a little nice little warmer, okay, to get our students interested in the topic, right? Okay, so let's go back into our classroom presentation tool, and we're going to have a look at the vocabulary, okay, before we start on the other tasks there. So let's listen. We've got some words here. We're going to listen to them so we know the pronunciation. This is our target vocabulary, which we're going to use throughout the unit. So let's listen. As you're listening, maybe you can think about, are there any words here that you might, as a teacher, you might want to explain a little bit more about? Now, not in terms of the meaning, because actually they're going to guess the meaning later on. They're going to work out the meaning from context. But in terms of the pronunciation, are there any words here which you might teach your students something more about? Okay, so let's listen.
Exercise A, page 24.
Affect.
Capable of.
Command.
Concern.
Data.
Pattern.
Privacy.
Reduce.
Reliable.
Trend.
Great. So we've gone through, we've listened to our target vocabulary. Now, yeah, as Dante says, there are both male and female voices, right? Okay, so we've got a mix there. Okay, that's a very important point, right? 50% of people are male and female. Okay, so are there any words here that you might want to help your students with the pronunciation here? There are a couple that stand out to me that I might want to mention to my students. So as you can note, you probably see at the top of the screen here, it says that this is an American English. Okay, so it is American English. Yeah, Natasha's put this word data, right? So they pronounced it as data, okay, because it's American English. In British English, we'd say data. But there are also lots of places around the world where this is pronounced differently. I know my colleague Andrew, who's here today, would pronounce this as data. So I would draw attention to this, that there are different ways to say this word, because if they, and I wouldn't try and get my students, I wouldn't make them to be able to say in all these different ways, but I want them to recognize that they might be talking to someone who says data, and then that would help them to understand it. So it's a receptive thing that I'd be talking about here. Another one that stands out to me would be this one here, privacy. That there's another way to say it, which would be privacy. Okay, so again, there's a significant difference there between the vowel sounds. So I'd want my students to understand a lot of people will say it this way, okay, especially now as, you know, our students there, you know, we're living in a global world, so they should be aware that there are different pronunciations. But the other ones, I think, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, we might want to contrast affect, okay, the verb, okay, with the noun effect. Okay, there was a big effect on me, right? So that's a good point. We might want to point that out as well. It's a very common mistake. Right, so we've looked at our vocabulary. We made sure our students can pronounce it, okay, in the way that in the American English way. And what we're going to do now, we're going to go down and have a look. The students are going to work out what these words mean. They're going to guess some meaning from context. And they're also going to learn, you're going to learn some interesting facts about the history or the timeline of artificial intelligence. So let's go into here. All right, now this is a listening activity, and you're going to be, what you're going to do, you're going to be listening here, and you're going to be trying to hear what this missing word is, and I want you to type it into the chat box for me, okay? So you can read the sentence there by yourself, the first one about 1950. Okay, so let's listen. Okay, try to hear what this missing word is. I'll give you a clue. It's one of those target vocabulary words we just looked at. Okay, so let's go.
Exercise B. Meaning from context. Page 24. Timeline of Artificial Intelligence, AI, History. 1950. In I, Robot, a book by Isaac Asimov, the makers of robots give the robots a command not to harm humans.
Great. Okay, so you can I can see already a couple of people have typed that in. Okay, so the first one, we're going to put command. Now I could type this in myself, or maybe I'll do it this time. Okay, I'll show you. I could type that in. I find it easy. I'm going to click this button here. Okay, and it's just going to show me what the answer is, right? So most of you have got that right. So this is interesting. Some of you have probably heard about iRobot. So this was as Isaac Asimov was a science fiction writer, and he wrote this novel in 1950. And this is one of the first instances where we see someone writing about or making us think about a time where robots or machines would be intelligent and that they might be a danger to humans. And this is why he writes that he gives a command not to harm humans. And this, I'm sure you will agree, has been shown to us many, many times in film and TV. Dante says, I think it was made into a movie starring Will Smith. Yeah, kind of. So the title iRobot is used in the Will Smith movie, but the movie is not the same as this original book by Isaac Asimov. So I think he just used the title, and some of the concepts are the same. But you're right. Yes, Dante, you're absolutely right. Okay, let's hear the next one.
1950s. Computers become an important tool for doing calculations quickly and are more reliable than humans.
Okay, I can see a lot of you typing in reliable. Let's check. Again, it is more reliable than humans. Okay, now if we talk about this word being more reliable, can anyone tell me what the word reliable means? So it comes from the verb to rely. And it's talking about how computers were able to do these calculations, so maybe maths problems. They could do them quickly and more reliable than humans. So what did that mean? Does that mean that the computers were doing the maths? Were they getting it right more often than humans, or were they getting it wrong? Okay, accurate is a good way. Yeah, so it means that they were getting it right. So if something is reliable, it means that we can trust it to get something right, to be accurate. Yeah, we can trust it. Okay, we can rely on it. Great. So we can get our students to think about the meaning here. This is, I think, really interesting here. The word computer. So before, a long time ago, sort of hundreds of years ago, there was a job for humans, and the job was computer. So just like we have an accountant or a teacher, we had a job called computer, and their job was to do calculations. And that's why we call a computer, because it actually replaced those people who were doing the manual calculation, manual with their hands. We replaced them with machines who could do them much faster and much better. So these days you don't get many people with the job of computers, but we use the word computers all the time. So this is an instance in the 1950s where people got replaced by technology. Okay, let's hear the next one.
1960s. An industrial robot called Unimate begins to replace human workers in automobile manufacturing. It starts a global trend.
Excellent. So what's the missing word here? A global trend. Right, now, if we're talking about a global trend, what does that mean? Can anyone tell me what that means there? So this was the first one. Unimate was the first robot, okay, that was in a factory. And then it says it starts a global trend. So if it's a global trend, is that something that was happening once or twice, or something that was happening a lot? Something new, something that was happening a lot. That's right. So something that started happening more and more, something that started happening everywhere. So a trend is something that first it starts, okay, it happens once, it happens again, and then suddenly it becomes more and more popular and starts happening everywhere. We call it a trend, a global trend, one that happens all over the world. So that robot I showed you earlier, the arm, this was called Unimate, and this was, I think, the first robot, okay, that was able to replicate an action that humans were doing. And of course, it was cheaper and more accurate, more reliable. It didn't get tired. And so we started using robots in manufacturing. So this is an example here where the robot started physically being able to do an action better than humans. Let's hear the next one.
1997. The computer Deep Blue wins a match against a world chess champion because it could process information quickly. Deep Blue's abilities affected all technology and helped start the age of big data.
Okay, here we go. So what have we got? Deep Blue's abilities, I can see here, affected, okay, all technology and helped start the age of big data or data. Perfect. All right. Now, this is, I think, very interesting, this one. So whereas the one in the 1960s, Unimate, is an example of how robots physically could replace humans. Okay, now this one is talking about a machine, an artificial intelligence, which was able to beat the world champion at something mental, something that before that we considered that machines would never be able to do, to play chess better than a human. And this is the first example where a knowledge leader was defeated by a machine. So 1960s, we got the physical, 1997, we got the mental, where intelligence, in a way, intelligence was better from a machine. Okay, let's have a look at the next one, 2011.
2011. Siri, a digital assistant, is part of the newest Apple iPhone. Siri learns from its users' patterns of behavior and presents its users with the most useful data for them. 20.
Great. Okay, so it says here, Siri, a digital assistant, is part of the newest Apple iPhone. Siri learns from its users' pattern. Okay, right. Patterns of behavior. Okay, how about this word here? It says Siri learns from its users' patterns of behavior. So can anyone tell me what we mean by a pattern? This is very important for AI, this word pattern. Yeah, great. That's a great word. Lan has put in a habit. Dante says repeat. So a pattern is where we have a lot of information, okay, and we can see something that is repeated through it. So we can see something that happens in the same way, okay, lots and lots of times through a large number of instances. So yeah, routine, habit, formula, repeat. So all of these words are really important and linked to the word pattern. If we go back to Deep Blue for a second, we can see that Deep Blue, it said, helped start the age of big data. So the reason for this is that Deep Blue was the first machine that was able to analyze huge amounts of information and find patterns. So what it was doing when it was playing against Gary Kasparov, it was when Gary made a move, Deep Blue was looking at every possible move it could make and then thinking about what Gary might do next. Okay, and then it was trying to find a pattern that would lead it to victory. So this Deep Blue computer has had a huge effect on basically everything we've made since then, okay, has used this as a model. The way it analyzed patterns in huge data sets. Great, let's have a look at 2021.
2021. Universities in the USA and China show that AI can recognize a type of cancer and could reduce the workload of busy doctors.
Okay, what do we got here? And could reduce. Okay, so reduce the workload. Okay, reduce means to become less. So this is really interesting. So whereas earlier we were looking at things like iRobot, okay, computers, iRobot is people being scared of robots, right, or technology. Computers replaced humans, taking away the job. Okay, Unimate was also replacing humans. Deep Blue is showing us that humans have the potential to take away even not just physical jobs, but mental jobs as well. But this one here is talking about how AI can actually help people, okay, can help humans. In this case, okay, help doctors. So why would that be a good thing? If a doctor doesn't have to spend so much time looking through a microscope, trying to analyze, what the cancer cells look like, what could the doctor be doing instead of that? How would that help the doctor? It would give the doctor more time. And what could the doctor do with that time? Right, yeah, they could do more research, or they could, I like this one, Lan, they could focus more on the patients, right? Because the doctor is a human, and a big part of a doctor's job is to focus on the human, to make them feel better, to comfort them, to observe, right, to discuss with them. So here is an example of using AI to support a human, to work together with the human, so the human can do their job better in a more human way. And I think that's really, really important when we think about AI to remember that. Okay, next.
2022. UNESCO publishes Recommendation on the Ethics of AI. The document outlines 10 concerns about AI, including privacy, safety, and fairness.
Okay, so let's have a look at this one. UNESCO publishes this recommendation on the ethics of AI. Document outlines 10 concerns about AI, including privacy, safety, and fairness. So this is fairly recently, we've started to think about the dangers of AI and how it can harm people, okay, not by controlling us, but perhaps by stealing our information, okay, stealing our data. Okay, so that's also something we need to think about when you're using something like ChatGPT. You need to think about what you're putting into there, because once you've put stuff into ChatGPT, it goes into its database, okay, and other people will be able to see that. Okay, final one.
2022. OpenAI launches ChatGPT, a program that's capable of natural language processing tasks such as text generation and language translation. As more data is collected, ChatGPT gets more precise or accurate.
Fantastic. I can see all of you typing here, capable of, right? If you're capable of doing something, what does that mean? It means that you can do. That's right. Capable of means you can do, or you're able to, right? You can even see the word able in there, right? So it means you can do it. So ChatGPT can produce natural language like text generation, okay? And I'm sure many of you, can you just type into the chat box for me, how many of you have used ChatGPT? Just type yes or no. Yes, okay, I think probably everyone. Oh, there's a no there. Okay, most people are probably familiar with ChatGPT, and we're going to look at it a bit today. Okay, so remember, this is a vocabulary activity, but it's also teaching us a lot of interesting things. So I hope you agree. I really enjoyed doing this activity. What did you think about that? Did you learn something new? How did you feel about that? Someone says yes. Okay, I can't read your name. Great. And what I would like to do with my students, so when I'm doing an activity like this, yeah, Lan says the content is updated and trendy. Okay, it's a good lesson, says Mario. So have a look at these, the ones I showed you earlier. I'm going to ask you a question. So which of these technologies on the screen here, or maybe one of the other things that we just talked about, which one of these would you like to learn more about? So we've got here Deep Blue, Siri, ChatGPT, Unimate. Which one of these things do you think you'd like to learn more about? Levi says Deep Blue. Tien says ChatGPT. Right, so this is, I think, a great opportunity. And at National Geographic Learning, we use real content. We use authentic content, and it lends itself to being able to the students to go and find out more and learn about it. So I would ask my students, maybe for homework or maybe in the lesson, quickly go on the internet now, find out a little bit. If you're interested in Deep Blue, try and find out a little bit more, and then tell your group about it. Give them 5 minutes, so they can do it for homework. They can do it the next lesson. That's right. And it says here it's excellent because we get, Erica says, we have the opportunity to create discussion. So I remember Deep Blue. I was in school when this happened. I remember being a big deal. So I actually looked up a few interviews with Gary, recent interviews, and he said a few things about this, which I found really interesting. So the first thing he said was that when he was beaten by Deep Blue, he was devastated. And it was the first time he was ever beaten in a chess match. Okay, so he had been world champion for 12 years. He had never lost. He might have lost one individual game, but he'd never lost a match. Okay. And the first time he lost was to a computer, and he thought that would never happen. But he says when he thinks about that in today's context, this is something that lots of people are thinking about. Is AI going to take my job? And he was maybe the first person that this happened to, where he was faced with this in front of everyone in the world. This machine is better than me at what I do. So it made him vulnerable. And so he thinks he was the first person to really experience this, which is very relevant to all of us now. Someone typed in the chat box earlier, AI cannot be a teacher, right? But we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so that was the first thing he said was interesting. Second thing he said that was really interesting to me is he said that these days, okay, if you have a chess app on your smartphone, okay, that chess app is probably more powerful than Deep Blue was in 1997. So that shows us how far AI has developed and how powerful the resources that we have today. That a chess app on your phone would be capable of beating the greatest chess grandmaster in the world. So I think these things are really interesting. We can get our students to find out information. We could ask other questions. I got one here. In your opinion, which of these technologies had the biggest impact on the world? Okay, I don't know. There's lots of things we could ask here to get our students thinking more deeply. Okay, let's go back into the lesson. Okay, and we're going to have a look at this. So we've got more vocabulary work here where we would get our students to use this vocabulary in more detail. We're getting them to say it. Okay, we're getting them to work out. We've already got them to guess the meanings. We're getting them to work out the definitions. Okay, we're not going to do all of that. Okay, because we're limited on time. I want to have a look at this down here, the vocabulary skills. So Pathways is a program that is not just teaching vocabulary, it's also teaching vocabulary skills. Okay, and in this case, we're looking at a collocation. So collocations are, I like to call them word friends. Okay, so collocation are two words which naturally go together, that we find them together very, very often. And it's not the same as grammar, because a collocation is, the reason it's a collocation is just through usage. It's just because this is what people say. All right, so it's different to grammar. It's more to do with language usage, okay, or discourse. So let's have a look at it. Okay, so we're going to look at two kinds of collocations. We've got adjective and preposition, and we've got noun and preposition. So adjective and words like in, on, or at. And there are lots of these, you find them everywhere, and it's really good to draw our students' attention to them because it's very easy to make a mistake. So let's have a look at these. I like this activity. We're going to go through and we are going to, let's make that a little bit bigger for you. We're going to go through and we're going to highlight with my highlighter tool where these collocations are. So remember, we're doing noun and adjective, or adjective and preposition, noun and preposition, adjective and preposition. So the first one, Dante's put in here, afraid of. So I can just click that there. Number two, can anyone have a look here? We've got interested in. Okay, that's an interesting one to me, because my students often made a mistake with this. I used to get a lot of students writing, well, maybe you can tell me, do you find any of your students use a different preposition with interested? Right, okay, so a lot of students might say interested at, right? I used to find a lot of my students put interested on. I'm interested on something, right? Interested about, right? Interesting, Diana. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Something you would like to be famous for. Okay, so let's highlight. Right, number 4, from the timeline, can you draw conclusions about AI? Okay, so Beatrix has put draw conclude. Now, so that's interesting because draw conclusions, that is a very, very strong collocation. But it's not the kind of collocation we're looking at. Okay, we're looking for ones with prepositions. Okay, so I'm going to highlight conclusions about, but you're absolutely right. Draw a conclusion. Okay, that is a verb and noun collocation. Number 5, we've got here likely to. I saw someone put in. Number 6, what is a pattern of behavior you notice online? What do we think about this one here? So we've got a noun plus pattern of. Okay, notice here we're also recycling some of that vocabulary that we learned earlier. And the last one, what technologies did ancient Egyptians have access to? So we've got here access to. Great. So we put those in, okay, and we can check our answers over here. You could get your students to come out and do this for you on the board, on the screen, and then we've got them all correct. Okay, fantastic. So I like this activity, nice drawing attention to the collocations. And just as we mentioned there, you could also point out other collocations like draw conclusions, like have access. That's a strong collocation as well. Okay, now I want to get back to this point here where we're showing the collocation interested in, and your students might say, well, what about, can I say interested at? Can I say interested about? Can I say interested on? Okay, so we want to check that, okay? And we want to make sure our students are using the right one. So I put another note in here that says GPT, check collocations. So we're going to go over to ChatGPT. Okay, now I actually have access to 2 GPTs. I have ChatGPT and I also have our Cengage GPT. The Cengage one is 4 and the free one is 3.5. Okay, and to be honest, I don't notice a big difference between them, right? So they both work really, really well. So let's do a new chat. Okay, and I'm going to type in here. Well, maybe you can help me. So I want to check collocations with interested. Okay, so what do we think? How could we find out from ChatGPT? What could we type in? So I'm going to type in which prepositions collocate with interested. So I'm going to ask a simple question. Okay, and we're going to see if ChatGPT can answer that for me. Okay, and it's so quick, isn't it? So quick, and it's given me this, and we can read through, and and teachers can do this, students can do this. So we've got interested in, and it says here this is the most common collocation. Okay, and it gives us 1 example, right? So we could ask it for more examples. We could say, can you give me 5 more examples? It's got here interested to. Okay, so that's good. Okay, she was interested to hear. I'm interested to see what happens. I'm interested to know why. Blah, blah, blah. So that's common as well. Now, the third one here, it's got interested about. And it says here, used to indicate the subject or topic of interest. He's interested about the latest developments in technology. Okay, so what do you think about that? How do you feel about that interested about? Type into the chat box. Does that feel natural to you? Dante says the quality, yes, the quality of the prompts does matter. Yeah. Okay, so some of you are saying no, some of you are saying yes. So let's ask ChatGPT to clarify. Okay, so I'm going to ask it, is interested about a correct collocation? Right, okay. And now, you see, when I ask ChatGPT again, it's now telling me it's not standard English, right? And it clarifies interested in is the preferred and more grammatically correct collocation. So it's interesting. The point here, we need to be a little bit careful. We need to check when ChatGPT, when we ask it something, if it's giving us some information we're not sure about, we need to check it. And for me, I don't really feel comfortable with interested about. Like it says here, I think it's a bit colloquial. I think it should be interested in. And this, I think the second use of interested to, okay, which is a different use. I think that is the way we should use it. But yeah, just interesting. We just ask it again and it changes it changes its opinion. Well, actually, no, it's not really standard English, right? But it didn't tell me that to begin with. So what can we do when we're using ChatGPT? We need to be careful with our prompts. We need to make sure we're accurate. We need to double check. And really, we need to go and double check somewhere else. So the best place to check is still a dictionary. So if I go here to Oxford Learners Dictionaries, I type in interested, we can see here, tells us straight away here, interested in, okay, is the correct collocation. We've also got interested to do something. So it's got those two there. It doesn't have any of the others. It doesn't have interested about, it doesn't mention it. One more resource you could use is this one here. You could use Ngram Viewer on Google. So this is a corpus. And what this does is it gives a very visual interpretation of how often language is used. And the corpus it's using is every single digital book that Google own or have access to. Okay, so it's a huge corpus. So let me show you how we do it. You type in the words or phrases. Oh, I can't spell interested, still can't spell interested in. So that I want to check that. Then you put a comma, no space. I'm going to put interested about, comma, okay, no space, interested to. Okay, so I'm going to check these three, and that's it. Then I hit return, and it's going to give us, yeah, this visual graph of how common these are. So we can see interested in is right up here, interested to is near the bottom, interested about right at the bottom. And we can also see over time how popular these phrases were, right? So sometimes we find, in fact, let me show you, if I get rid of interested in, okay, show you this, okay, we can see that yeah, interested about was more popular, okay, back in the 1820s, 1840s, less popular these days. Interested to also becoming less popular. So this as a structure has become less popular over time. Right, there we go. So what's the point I'm trying to make here, right? So the first point is that ChatGPT, it's really good, right? It gives you information really, really quickly. And in general, it's giving you fairly accurate information, but make sure you check it, okay? Make sure you check it, ask it another question, double check if it's a language point, a grammar point, double check it against another source, okay? So we make sure we're getting the right information. Okay, let's move on with our lesson. Okay, back into here. So we're going to go into the next page. Okay, let me go into the next page, and we're going to have a look at. We're going to watch. Well, it's a listening lesson, and this listening lesson is going to be teaching us about note-taking skills. And we've got some really interesting discussion questions that we can start off with. Let's have a look at them here. It says, what AI do you use? What works well? What problems do you have? How do you feel about AI? Do you have any concerns? And what do you hope AI will be able to do in the future? So all really, really interesting questions, which I think our students will have an opinion on. Maybe I'll just pick one of those to ask you. I'm going to ask you number 2. Okay, so how about this one, number 2? So personally, how do you feel about AI? Do you have any concerns? So can you type into the chat box for me, just in general, you have a positive feeling or a negative one? How does it make you feel when you think about AI? How does that make you feel? Both, yeah, okay. Positive, mixed feeling, more positive. Wonderful. Empowers learners enormously, I agree. So yeah, I think M. Sasaki, I think you've summed up my opinion. It's positive if you know how to use it correctly, right? Okay, so it's a matter of using AI in the right way. Just like any other tool that we have to use it in the right way. And as it's still fairly new to us, we're still learning how to do that. Okay, yeah, positive and negative effect. It can lead to laziness, right? Okay, it could lead to laziness. That's the, yeah, you know, again, it's the kind of thing, isn't it? We often say that about new technology, that when pocket calculators came out, you know, like I remember teachers saying, you know, that it makes people lazy, they should be able to do it in their head. But you know, these days, most of the time we don't don't need to do complex calculations in our head because we always have access to a calculator. So I think, that it will be the same with things like AI. Gibran says the question is, what is the right way? That's true. What is the right way? And we will learn now, and over the next however many years, we will learn what the right way is to use AI. Okay, so note-taking skills. So I'm not going to read out the box, but you can see here it's telling us when, for your students at university, whatever, when we're taking notes, you don't write full sentences, you're picking out the keywords. And we're going to practice that. We're going to practice it by watching a video. So I'm using an app on my computer called Snip and Sketch. So I'm just going to get a new snip. And I'm going to take this box here, and I'm going to save that. I'm going to save it. It says screenshot. Okay, and now what I'm going to do with that, this is, I think, a nice tip for when you're teaching online. I'm now going to put that into the chat box. I'll go to my downloads, open that. And I put that in. So I just sent you the activity, okay? So that as we're watching the video, you can keep an eye on that and it will help you to complete the task. So we're taking notes. You're gonna put one word in each of those blanks, okay? So you should be able to see in the chat box, you should be able to access the screenshot I just sent you, okay? And your task is to complete the notes using one word per blank, okay? Now, we could listen to this. We could just listen to it as audio. It is a listening. But what Pathways has, which is really, really nice, is it's actually got this, it's got these videos. We've made these kind of animated videos, which just make it a bit more interesting. So it's about a 4-minute video. We're going to watch it. You've got your task. Okay, remember, what's your task? Can you tell me? Can you type into the chat box? What's your task there? Can anyone remember? Watch and take notes, right? So yeah, and where are the notes? You've got them in the chat box. Okay, that screenshot I sent you. Okay, so I'm not going to keep the notes on the screen here because I want you to be able to see the full screen of the video. Okay, that's why I've sent them to you. All right, let's go. So let's watch.
I guess we have all heard of artificial intelligence, or AI, but people have different ideas about what AI is. Dr. Ali, how do you define artificial intelligence?
Sure, that's a great place to start. There are actually a couple of categories of AI. The first is weak AI. This means that the AI does one job, like recommending shows or movies for you to watch.
So I guess anytime I get recommendations when I'm shopping online or looking at social media, that's an example of AI doing its job.
Yes, exactly. Digital assistants like Siri are another great example of weak AI. Although they are quite advanced, they still do only one job: responding to your questions and commands.
So if there's weak AI, does that mean there's also strong AI?
You bet. Strong AI has intelligence and is capable of doing complicated jobs on its own. We have not achieved strong AI yet, and some people think we never will, because they don't think AI will ever be able to think the same way humans can.
It sounds like strong AI is the type of AI that most people are afraid of.
Yes. When people talk about AI controlling the world, they are talking about strong AI. It makes for great movies, but it's not a real concern in my opinion.
Getting back to weak AI, does it all work the same way?
Great question. Basically, yes. All current AI works in the same way because it uses data to find patterns. For example, when we use a browser like Google to look for something on the internet, the results that we see are chosen carefully. The browser has learned which websites are the most popular or most reliable, as well as which websites we visit the most often. This reduces the number of results and prevents us from seeing a lot of websites we're not really interested in.
In other words, the browser draws conclusions about what we're looking for on the internet.
Right. Another way AI works is by finding patterns in spoken and written language. This is called speech recognition. Digital assistants use speech recognition. So does the autocorrect program on your phone.
And those things work pretty well. They are not perfect, though. I think everyone has a story about autocorrect changing the spelling of a word to something we did not mean.
You're right about that. Artificial intelligence is certainly not perfect, but it's improving every day.
I believe that. I would love to know more about trends in AI. Can you talk to us a little about that?
Ah, the exciting part. Well, one way that AI is being used is in medicine. For example, computers can recognize a kind of cancer. And in education, online learning programs with AI can give students the kind of support they need. Review and practice, or more advanced tasks. They customize learning and make the education experience more personal. But privacy is also a trend in AI because it's a big concern. A lot of our personal data is collected online. We all need to understand how our data is being used. When companies have our personal data, they can customize the service they give us. But they can also cause problems if they don't keep our data safe. The future of AI is very exciting, but we all need to know how it affects our lives.
Okay, excellent. And that was our video. Well, it's not actually a video. So this is, remember, a listening lesson, but we have in Pathways, 3rd edition, we have they're almost like video infographics. So we've added this animation to help students understand, okay, what they're hearing. Of course, makes it more multimedia, which is more realistic, okay, the way that we see information these days. I can see a lot of you putting the answers in. You've done really well, so quick. Can you tell me in the chat box, just I'm interested to hear your feedback on the video. So what did you think about the video? Lan is asking me if it was made by AI. It might have been. I don't know, actually, Lan. It's a very good question because AI can do that now, can't it? Really need to pay attention. Missed one word. Okay, it sounded like it was made by AI. Interesting to know there's weak and strong AI. Right. Okay. Yeah. So that was actually new information to me as well. So I learned quite a lot from the video. Rena says she was too focused on watching the video and forgot to do the task. Waveform, good question. ChatGPT. Yes, ChatGPT is a weak AI. Can anyone tell me why ChatGPT is a weak AI? From what the video told us. Yeah, because it can only do one task. So all ChatGPT can do is respond to your prompts. Okay, that's all it can do. If you don't tell it to do anything, it can't do anything, right? It can only respond, right? So it's very limited, right? It's not thinking, it's not deciding to create something for itself. Okay, it's only responding. So a weak AI can do one task, okay, when asked to do so. Great, so let's have a look at the answers. You've all got them there, so we'll go through. So two kinds of AI. The weak one does one job, one task, one thing. Strong AI has intelligence and does tasks on its own. Which of these two types of AI is the one that people are afraid of, that we see in movies and films? That's strong AI, right? Okay, do we have strong AI yet? Not yet, we don't have it, okay? Yes, the Terminator is strong AI, that's right. Okay, so how does weak AI work? It uses data to find patterns. Notice here that all of the vocabulary we learned earlier is recycled all the way through the unit. Okay, all of that vocab is in this listening. It finds patterns in spoken and written language. Number 5, okay, trends in AI. In medicine, computers can recognize cancer. We talked about that earlier. Number 7, in education, AI is more customized and personal. Okay, that's important for us, right? We can use that to help our students to find their weaknesses and help them practice it. And the concerns about AI, the last one, number 8, privacy is a concern. Our personal data is collected online. This is something we all need to be aware of, not just with AI, but well, anytime you use the internet, we need to be careful with that, right? Okay, great. So we've got that, I think, really interesting video. We've then got, to get a deeper understanding, we've got these true or false questions, which we're not going to do. We've got a more focused listening here, again, which is helping us to really understand it. And then we've got these discussion questions where students are going to personalize and find out more. Okay, now, I was going to do another example of using ChatGPT here. Asking ChatGPT about AI, whether it's good or bad for us. I can show you, I think, very, very quickly here if I go over to ChatGPT, because I did it earlier. Yeah, so what I did here is I went in and I asked ChatGPT to give me 5 negative and 5 positive points about AI, written in simple. I think this is an important bit. So when we're using ChatGPT, if we want to use it with our students, we need to give it instructions to write it at the right level. So this is an A2 lesson. So I've asked it to write in simple A2 CEFR language. And it's not bad at that. It's not perfect. Okay, we've actually done some analysis and sometimes it comes out a bit higher. But if you ask it to do that, it will limit the level, okay, the vocabulary. But again, you might have to tweak it. You might have to take some words out yourself, or you can ask it, please make this simpler, make it easier to understand, and it will do that. What ChatGPT has done here, it's given me these 5 helpful points, positive points. It's helpful, it improves efficiency, it assists in healthcare, enhanced safety. And it's given us negative points as well, job loss, dependency. A lot of you were talking about this, where it makes us, might make us stupid, right? Because we ask it to do everything for us. So what I want to do here with these points, I could first get my students to think about, in the question here, what questions do you have? I'd ask them, okay, well, do you think it's good or bad for us? Get them to brainstorm ideas and then show them these ideas and see if they agree or disagree with these points, right? So we're using GPT to give us more material to think about. All right, now there was one more part of the lesson, which I've run out of time, so I'm not really going to be able to do it, but I'm just going to show you what it is, because I think it's a great task. So in every unit of Pathways 3rd edition, we have this final task. There's 2 options, okay? An option 1 and option 2. This one, the option 1 always encourages a collaboration skill. So we've done vocabulary skill, we did an academic skill, note-taking. We've now got a collaboration skill, because we know that collaboration is important, but usually we just put students together. We don't teach them how to work together. So here we're working on how to facilitate conversation by acknowledging people, and if we need to disagree, by doing it politely. And the task is students make notes about what makes a human intelligent, what makes a machine intelligent, and then they make notes on, do you think machines will ever be able to think the same way humans can? So we get them to think of their own ideas, they share them in a group, and then they're using this language here to acknowledge the other person and to say if they agree or disagree. That's a great task. Not all students can do that. I found in my lessons, it depends on how long I've had the students, or it depends on how much time you have. Sometimes students find this difficult because they feel it's rude to disagree. So in this case, I'm just going to give you one more very quick use of ChatGPT. So we're talking about AI, all right? So what I've done next, I've gone into AI, and I have asked I've asked ChatGPT to give me a list. Is this the right one? Yeah. I've asked ChatGPT, here it is. I've asked it to give me a list of statements that students can agree or disagree with. So I put here, give me 20 simple statements about AI that most people would disagree with. Remember, the task is to disagree. And it gave me these 20 statements. AI will never surpass human intelligence. AI poses no ethical concerns. I thought this was too difficult, so I asked it to do it again. Okay, again, putting A2 language from CEFR. It then made this, you can see, much simpler. AI won't become smarter than humans. AI won't take away all human jobs. Okay, so my aim here, I'm giving these 20 simple statements. I'll put them on the screen. Let's see, I can do that now. I can copy that. Okay, and I can put it into the chat box for you. So in the classroom, you'd put them on the screen, or you could put them in the chat box. What students are going to do now for the activity, they're going to take it in turns to read one of these statements to their partner or to their group, and then the group is going to respond by acknowledging it and then either agree or disagree with it. Okay, so I'm giving them more opportunities to practice this collaboration skill and making them more comfortable. So it was so quick for me to make this activity, and it's really going to get them to focus on that skill and do it much more than they would in just a normal conversation. Okay, so that's my final tip for using ChatGPT. Okay, I am at time, so we're going to go back and we're going to finish off the webinar. Right, let's make sure I get the right kind of share for you. All right. Okay, so yeah, I just want to remind you, okay, so the lesson we've looked at today is from the new edition of Pathways. Pathways is one of our best-selling academic programs. This is the new edition of the Listening, Speaking, Critical Thinking. It's also available in Reading and Writing and Critical Thinking. I think one of my colleagues is going to drop the link into the chat box now. So if you'd like to find out more information about this program, you can. Pathways, the new edition, is available on our digital platform Spark. So the classroom presentation tool I used today is just one of the tools that you will find on Spark. There's a huge number of other resources that's going to help you as a teacher at every stage of your classroom or teaching journey, right from placing students with a placement test to preparing and teaching your lessons, to setting homework online, it's automatically graded, setting online tests, which are automatically graded, and then tracking their progress using a grade book. So all of that homework they do, all of the tests get collected, the data there, and you can get a really good understanding of how your students are progressing. If you'd like to find out more information, you can find out more information about that on the page, on the product page. I can see lots of questions in here, lots of notes. Someone says it's inspiring. I'm glad to hear that. Fabulous. Gibran says, I've been using Spark. It's been great. Okay, excellent. Are there any questions you would like to ask me? So I think Andrew or someone's been taking care of them. M. Sasaki says, are the contents today for B1 level? So yes, M. Sasaki, the lesson we're looking at today is for A2 to B1 level students, okay? So that's kind of like a pre-intermediate level. Is this available in the Philippines? Andrew is answering that one now. All our programs are available everywhere. So yes, it would be available in the Philippines. Will World English series be available on Spark too? Yes, World English. All of our programs are being moved from my ELT onto Spark. So all of our programs will be available at some time. I can't remember the exact date, Gibran, but if you email me, I can find out and I can probably get a date for you. Okay. Right, so let's have a look. I just want to give a bit of promotion. If you've enjoyed today's webinar, please check out our webinar page, webinars.eltngl.com, and you can find out all about our upcoming webinars. If you go to the page, you'll see 3 upcoming webinars here. It tells you which segment they're for, young learners or adults or academic like today's. If you click on that, you find more information and you can register. When you go to the main web page, you'll see these boxes here. And if you go to hosted by and click on that and then click on Asia, you will see one more. So there's this one that Andrew is doing on the 27th of March, which is about teaching phonics to young learners. And this is using materials, graded readers from our partner Nelson, which is an Australian company. And yeah, you will find that webinar by clicking on hosted by, go to our webinar page, click hosted by, select Asia, and you will see this one there. Okay, and I think this is going to be really good. I have a 5-year-old daughter myself, and I've learned a little bit about this. It looks fantastic resource for teaching children how to read. Okay, so last thing, please follow us if you've enjoyed the webinar today. Okay, please follow us, become a fan. You can find us on Facebook, ELT-NGL Asia. You can find us on WeChat. You can click, if you scan the QR code here, you can find all of those places where you can find us and follow us so that you have all the information about what we've got coming up. All right, so thank you for joining us. Mariko's got a question about CLIL. So we do have, Mariko, we have a series of programs. We call it content-based English. And those programs will be most suitable for a CLIL type environment. So for young learners, we have a program called Reach Higher. And for secondary age students or middle year program, we have a program called Lift. So if you go to our webpage, okay, and look at content-based learning, you can have a look at those programs there. Okay, right. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it on the leap day. The only one in 4 years, the only webinar I've done on a leap day ever. It's been great to have so many of you here. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you again soon. Sign up for another webinar. I am on LinkedIn. Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me there. Okay, great. Cheers, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.